Mom, Dad, why weren't you fair? Why did you always believe her? And never me? Why, when I cried for help, did you act like everything was fine? You looked away when I came to you in tears, bruised, anxious. You chose convenience and sacrificed me. Because of your neglect, I grew into someone afraid of her own reflection, someone who doesn't know who she is, someone who believed for too long that love had to be earned, that if someone hurts you, maybe it's your fault. Thank God someone came along who could finally untangle it all. My therapist. He showed me that pain is still real, even when nobody sees it. That betrayal gives you the right to be angry, that I don't have to forgive if it's just going to break me again. But all of that came too late. Back then, my sister used to hit me when our parents weren't watching. I used to be afraid of the dark, until I realized the real horror doesn't hide in the closet. It shares a room with you. When Mom closed the door behind her, hell would begin. And its name was my sister. On the outside, she was perfect, sweet, polite, composed. She complimented our grandma, cleaned the table before anyone asked, acted like she cared about me. But it was all an act. When we were alone, she turned into someone else. Heartless, cruel, calculating. She knew how to perform. She could smile at our parents. And the next second hiss in my face. You ruin everything. Sometimes I wondered if she was even real. Real people don't switch like that, do they? Once I even asked my mom, "Are you sure you gave birth to me? Maybe you adopted me?" Because after a while, I started to believe I didn't belong. Not to her. Not to anyone. Why did she hate me so much? Why did every step I took seem to make her angry? I used to sit in the corner of our room, curled up and small, thinking, maybe if I were real, maybe then she'd love me. I was 6 when I first realized that my family wasn't a place where you could feel safe. From the outside, we looked like the perfect picture. A strict but caring mom, a quiet, hardworking dad, and 2 daughters who were inseparable. My sister and I were close in age, just 2 years apart. She was older, and she knew it. We looked like a typical suburban family, almost postcard-worthy. No one would have guessed that behind those walls lived not love, but fear. There was something going on in that house I didn't have words for. It didn't fit into any bedtime story or schoolyard conversation, but my body knew. Every time Mom left for the store or went to see a friend, I'd start to shake, because it meant I was alone with her. My sister, the perfect student, the sweet artist, the helpful daughter. She did her homework without being asked, smiled at teachers, made pretty drawings. But when the door closed behind us, her face changed. Cold, empty, cruel. At first, it was little shoves. She'd push me out of our shared room for fun. I'd bang into the doorway and she'd laugh. "Your fault. You shouldn't have come near my side." Then it was pinching. Hard enough to bruise, but carefully, so it looked like nothing. And Mom believed her when she said, "She probably just bumped into something." I tried to tell, but every time Mom waved me off. "Don't start. She's your sister. You're supposed to love each other." Love? I remember how that word echoed in my head like it was supposed to fix everything, but it didn't. It just confused me more. I didn't know what love looked like. I didn't know what it felt like to be hugged for no reason, or to have your parents look at you with pride instead of disappointment. Mom was strict. Dad was emotionally absent. And my sister, she was my personal nightmare. How do you love someone who shoves you just for walking past? Who scratches your back when Mom isn't looking? Who stares you straight in the eye and tells you you're nothing? I remember sitting on the edge of the bed, hunched over, cheeks burning, asking myself, what is there to love about her? What? It hurt. So deeply I could feel it in my bones, in my stomach, in my throat. I cried for help, and no one listened. I showed my bruises, and Mom said I probably fell. I looked at them, this so-called family, and wondered, how can people be this blind? It was obvious. Obvious I wasn't lying. Obvious I was hurting. But still, no. In this family, I was always cast as the one who makes things up. The more I asked for protection, the more they saw me as the problem. That was the first time I truly felt invisible. Like my tears didn't matter. They called me sensitive, said I was dramatic. My sister was the golden child. And I was difficult, overreacting. Dad's little drama queen. That's what he used to call me. I was 8 when she slapped me across the face for the first time, just because I took one of her hair ties without asking. I remember the sound, sharp, like a snap. I remember flying backward. I remember her laugh, and how, seconds later, she turned sweet again. Made me tea. Told me that if I said anything, Mom wouldn't believe me anyway. And she was right. I told them. And Mom looked at me like I was the real danger in the house. My sister stood behind her. Innocent eyes. Angelic face. She could cry on command. Dad would just shake his head. "Why can't you be more like her?" he asked. "She's older. She knows how to handle things. And you're just being dramatic again." I started thinking I was crazy. Maybe I was making it up. But then there were the nights. Nights where I lay frozen in bed as she slowly pulled the blanket off me, just so I'd shiver. Or the alarm she secretly set on my phone. 3 a.m. every time. So I'd wake up in panic. No bruises, no proof. But every bit of it tore me up inside. Childhood emotional neglect isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silence. It's crying for help and getting nothing back. They didn't protect me. They shamed me for trying to protect myself. Mom would say, "You're just jealous. She's older. She has it harder." I heard that so many times I started saying it to myself. By middle school, I didn't even try to fight anymore. I just survived. I learned how to disappear. I watched as they praised her for her grades, her looks, her perfect behavior. My wins went unnoticed. My mistakes were magnified. I lived in her shadow and didn't even realize how deeply it was sinking into me. Being the scapegoat in a family is like living in a mirror that doesn't reflect you. I started hating myself, my body, my voice, my thoughts. I believed I didn't deserve anything good. At 16, I ran away to my grandmother's. I told them I wanted a better school. But the truth was, I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. I'd spent years staying quiet, swallowing my tears, pretending everything was fine. But inside, I was burning. I knew if I stayed, I wouldn't make it. I thought about dying more often than I should admit. Not because I wanted to be dead, but because I didn't see a life worth living. It wasn't despair. It was nothingness. When you grow up in a home with no warmth, no safety, no belief in you, you start to think that maybe the world just isn't meant to be kind. Maybe all families are like this. Maybe the problem is you. I used to sit on the bathroom floor and imagine how I could disappear, just not exist. So no one would yell, no one would blame, no one would shove, no one would ignore me. And one day I had a thought. What if I didn't try to die? What if I tried to live, but somewhere else? That was probably the first truly grown-up thought I ever had. It was a turning point. When fear gives way to decision. When a voice inside you rises. A voice you've never heard before. I chose to run, because it was the only way to survive. I had nothing left for them. No love for my sister, none for my mother, none for my father. I had spent years trying to earn their attention, their approval, their kindness. And they never even noticed they were losing me. That house was no longer a home. It was a prison, a cold, emotionally empty cell where every morning felt like punishment. And when I moved in with my grandmother, It felt like freedom, like someone had opened the cage I'd grown up in. For the first time, I could breathe. Not because everything was suddenly okay, but because it was finally quiet. Years later, I started therapy. I went because I couldn't build relationships. Every person who came close made me feel anxious. I waited for the hit. I didn't trust anyone. Therapy was hell. Because for the first time in my life, someone said, "You're not crazy." That was abuse. And it stung, because it wasn't my father who said it. It wasn't my mother. It was a stranger. Someone who didn't know my birthday, who never saw my school drawings, who never held me when I fell, who wasn't there when I was quiet or screaming or breaking. But he was the one who heard me. And that hurt. But it also healed something. Because if even a stranger could understand, then I wasn't crazy. Then all of it was real. Unfair. Cruel. Wrong. I cried that day. Really cried. Not from pain, but from recognition. Because for the first time, someone called things by their real name. And strangely, that therapist, a complete stranger, felt closer to me than my entire family ever had. He didn't demand silence. He didn't say, "You should forgive." He didn't defend my sister. He just believed me. Years have passed. I live far away now. I have my own job, my own people, my own walls, and I'm building a life without them. Sometimes my parents still write. They ask why I don't come for the holidays, why I didn't congratulate my sister on her engagement. Even now, it stings. How they still see everything through her eyes, as if she has feelings, and I only have whims. They ask why I stay silent. But have they ever once asked why I pulled away? Why I left? Why I don't call? Because in their world, I'm still the difficult daughter. And my sister, the poor thing I now ignore. But honestly, I don't care anymore. I'm not angry. I'm not waiting for apologies. I just grew up. I'm an adult now. I have my own life, my own boundaries, my own values. And most importantly, I have myself. I love myself. And no one can take that from me ever again. Dear readers, my kind subscribers, please don't judge me too harshly for not speaking to my own sister. You simply don't know what I've been through. You weren't inside those walls, where love felt like a luxury you had to beg for. I can't change my parents. I can't change my sister. I can't rewrite their story. But I can write my own. I will become the kind of mother I once needed. The one who listens. The one who believes. The one who doesn't look away. And I wish the same for you. Take care of yourselves. You matter.